We're live. Hey. Hello. Yeah, I have the part we left off marked over here. Ugh, awesome sauce. Yippee. How are you guys? Oh, hi, Kai. Hello. How was your day? My day was fine. I went to work. I did job. Uh, and by I did job, it means I was outside all day and I'm tired. With no service. That's listen, I love my job, but I have no service at all, so I can't look up anything. I can't barely do anything. At the end, I was just like, I'm just gonna read my loaded fanfics during breaks because there's no service here. Anyway, did the adulting. Exactly. I need to do more adulting, Loki, because I haven't been doing groceries or cooking because I'm just outside all the time. Yeehaw. But it'll be fine. It'll be so fine. And also, my tripod, like little holder thing broke. So I need to fix that. Putting my phone on my yeah. Did it break? Or am I like losing my mind? Oh, is it this thing that broke? It's this thing that broke. Or is it? No, it's not broken. Why isn't it working? Anyway, I'll fix that later. Anyway, we are continuing Two's Company, chapter 43 right now. Um, Rumi is going through her speech therapy, regular schmegular therapy. It's her little healing arc. Hydrate the vocal cords. Hello. So we're continuing from the outer thoughts, number 28. Frustrated with everything. It's exhausting how something so small, something most people don't even think about, can twist itself into something this big, something that reaches into everything and makes it harder than it should be. Talking shouldn't feel like this. It shouldn't feel like dragging something out of yourself that doesn't want to come out. I hate how it gets in my head, how it makes me feel stuck in my own body, how I can feel the words sitting there, but they just don't come out right or at all. I hate it. I hate that it matters this much. I hate myself for it. Crossed out. Outer thoughts number 29. Zoe got me ice cream. It's stupid how much something small like that helps. For a little while, it quiets everything. I feel a bit better. Outer thoughts number 30. Mira's voice has this kind of calming effect on me, not in a loud or obvious way, just steady, like something I can hold on to when everything else feels unclear. I never thought about how our struggles overlap, just in different moments of our lives. But hearing her talk about it gives me a different perspective, one that feels a little less heavy to carry. The steady thump of Mira's heartbeat against my ear is nice in its own weird way. Laying against her, my head tucked against her chin as her voice move as her voice moved steadily above me. She was reading. I didn't really follow the story, not completely, but I followed the sound of her, the rise and fall of her voice, the way certain words softened and others sharpened just slightly. The quiet pauses between sentences where her fingers would absent mindedly brush along my arm or shoulder before continuing. It made everything feel slower, quieter, safer. My eyes stayed on the page, even when I wasn't really reading it. I just liked being here. Mira turned a page, her voice dipping into the next line before trailing off slightly. How'd your session go? My stomach tightened, just a little. I didn't move right away. My fingers curled slightly against her shirt before I pulled my hands free and lifted it between us. I signed slowly, trying to remember what I'd gone over last night. Carefully. Better. Mira nodded, understanding as she signed it back to me more smoothly. I copied her, then I tried again, adding a few more words. My movements hesitated halfway through, but I pushed through it, shaping what I could. I spoke. A flicker of something moved in my chest. Then I added the last part, slower now. After. My hand dropped slightly, and Mira immediately grabbed it. Thumb brushed over my knuckles, slow and steady. Isn't a straight line, she said gently. It never is. I stared at our hands, at the way hers held my without forcing anything. Some days are gonna be harder than others, she said. Some days you'll get further, some days you won't. Sometimes you'll even feel like you're going backwards. Her voice didn't change. It stayed calm, certain, and that's still part of it. Take it from me, she murmured, softer now. Remember when I couldn't even stand in the kitchen if there were knives out? I glanced up at her. I really thought that was it. That was it. Her fingers shifted in mine before she lifted my hand, quiet kiss against my knuckles. But I'm not, she said. I can hold them now. Not all the time, not perfectly. Some days I still have to put them down. Sometimes I feel sick if I push too long. She exhaled softly, but I don't run from it anymore. Her thumb brushed over my hand again. And you're not stuck either. The words settled somewhere deeper than everything else. I know it feels like too much, she continued. Like you're not doing enough or not getting there fast enough. But you are. You're trying. You're here. You're doing it even when it's hard. My throat burned. And that counts for more than you think. I swallowed, my gaze dropping back to our hands, to the quiet steadiness of hers wrapped around mine. For the first time in a while, it didn't feel like I was standing still. I nodded slowly, the motion small, but real. I think the first person is because these are Rumi's notes. That's what I'm gathering from it. It's like her writing this down. Rumi watched with quiet confusion and a growing kind of interest as Zoe and the girl in front of her, Mina, Mystery's little sister, signed back and forth. It was hard to follow. Not just hard, impossible, really. Her eyes narrowed slightly as she tried to track it anyway, gaze flicking between their hands. Zoe's movements came in straighter lines, a little more deliberate. Pause, adjust, try again. There was a stiffness to it, like she was still thinking through each motion. Still, she was better, way better than Rumi was. Mina, on the other hand, Rumi barely had a shift before Mina glanced at her. Her eyes lingered for a second too long, scanning her face in a way that made Rumi instinctively straighten, hers pulling in just slightly. It wasn't unkind, but it made her aware of herself. Then Mina turned back to Zoe, and her hands exploded into motion. Rumi blinked. It was like watching something blur past, fingers slicing through the air too fast to follow, shapes forming and disappearing before her brain could even try to catch up. Her gaze darted uselessly between them, like if she just focused harder, it might suddenly make sense. It didn't. And when she glanced at Zoe, yeah, Zoe looked just as lost. Her shoulders had crept up, tension pulling tight across them, her face slipping into something almost panicked as her eyes jumped from one hand to the other, trying to keep up. Mina seemed to catch it too. Rumi watched as a small, knowing smile curled at Mina's lips, subtle but there, And then she lifted her hands again, slower this time. Rumi leaned in without realizing it. Mina made a fist, extending her pointer finger before circling it gently against her cheek. Her expression softened to match the motion, something warm settling into it. Hmm? Across from her, Zoe visibly melted. The tension drained right out of her shoulders, replaced almost instantly by a smug grin. There was an ice cream truck passing through, and I'm just like, are you past? Are you past? Where is it? Is it just there? Is it just going to be there? Hi, ZC! What's up? Is it just going to be there? I'm girl, girl, girl. It's just. I guess I'm just gonna have to ignore it. Okay. The sirens are evolving. Now they sell ice cream. Oh my god! Hi, Julie! Hey, girl! You're so funny! Oh my gosh! I'm good. Guys, Julia's like my childhood best friend, like of the high school. Oh my god. I'm reading fan fiction, girl. Oh my god. Go. Oh my god. Oh. Sam, oh my god. Oh my god. My stomach. This freaking ice cream truck. Okay, anyways. Um okay, where was I? Across from her, Zoe visibly melted. Oh my god. The tension drained right out of her shoulders, replaced almost instantly by a smug grin. She arched a brow, lifting her hands again, this time moving them in a loose, exaggerated rhythm that felt unmistakably like her. Even without understanding the signs, Rumi could tell. She was bragging. Zoe pressed a flat palm dramatically over her heart, lips puffing out into an over the top pout. Rumi huffed out the smallest breath through her nose. That part translated perfectly. Mina let out a silent laugh, shoulders shaking slightly as she rolled her eyes. Then, quick and sharp, she brought her fingers together in a pinch and bit down slightly on the tips. Rumi tilted her head in confusion, glancing back at Zoe just in time to see her freeze, hands hovering midair, staring at Mina like her brain had just stopped. Rumi could practically see the buffering. A beat passed, then another. Mina's eyes crinkled, something cheeky settling in her expression. Zoe's eyes widened like she'd just been hit. Greedy? She gasped, the word bursting out into the quiet room and making Rumi flinch slightly. Before Mina could even react, Zoe's hand snapped back up, flying into motion, faster, sharper, messy in a way that was definitely not textbook, but very, very Zoe. They signed a little more between themselves, shorter this time, slower, like they were wrapping something up. Bye, Julie. Thanks for stopping by. I'll message you. We should talk. Okay, it's okay. I've given up. That's just gonna be there, y'all. The ice cream truck is just gonna be there. What can I do? Rumi didn't try as hard to follow now. She just watched, letting her eyes drift between their hands, their faces, catching what she could, studying what they were signing to memory. Then Zoe turned back to her. She lifted her hand and gave Rumi a firm thumbs up. She'll teach you, she said. She'll teach you, she said, beaming like this had been the plan all along. Rumi blinked. Then her eyes widened slightly, something warm and surprised flickering through them as she turned toward Mina. Mina was already looking at her, not in that earlier assessing way, softer now, a small smile resting on her lips, patient, open, like she'd already said yes before Zoe even asked. Rumi felt herself straighten without meaning to, her hands shifting slightly in her lap as that nervousness lingered, along with the awareness of everything she didn't know. There was a beat where she hesitated. Then, slowly, she lifted her hands in that awkward but careful way and signed, "Thank you." Her fingers faltered slightly at the end, like she wasn't fully confident she'd done it right, but she held it anyway. Mina's smile widened just a touch. She signed back immediately, smooth, easy. "You're welcome." Rumi's shoulders lifted just a bit, something almost like pride slipping through as she straightened, the smallest hint of a smile tugging at her lips. She understood that, actually understood it, and the feeling of it, small as it was, bloomed warm in her chest. Maybe she wasn't as far behind as she thought. Gonna have a while ensemble outside your windows. I'm just gonna check if I can see the ice cream truck because, like, where is it? Like, why? It's right there. Oh my god, I see it. Go away. Oh god. I'm gonna draw my curtains. The ice cream truck is like think colorful background music, but it's annoying me. Um, I'm gonna try to block it out as much as possible. Oh, that's so frustrating. This is like the time Nyx visited New York and was like, I knew you told me that it gets really noisy here, but I didn't understand like just how noisy it gets. And I'm like, girl, I know. So frustrating. Like, why? Why did you just stop there? I guess I just need to keep going. This is so frustrating. Anyway. Can I play some chill royalty free music? So you can hear the ice cream truck in the YouTube as well, I'm guessing. They had to take a break to listen, and I don't want them. They should go away. They should go away. Roomy admin, there's an ice cream truck outside my window on my street, and it's so loud. It's so freaking loud. I'm just gonna pull up some chill royalty free music because this is ridiculous. Do we have lo-fi? Yeah. If that just plays in the background, can you still hear me? Can you still hear me right now? This is bringing back memories. Okay, okay. Hmm. Oh my days! Okay, I guess this is what we're doing. Any politics or I'm a crush. Huh? This is my girlfriend, Rumi, Zoe signed. Her movements a little stiffer than they used to be, the rhythm not quite as effortless. She's really nice and cool and amazing, and she'd love it if you taught her some sign language. Mina's gaze shifted to Rumi, assessing for a brief moment before flicking back to Zoe. Her hands moved quickly at first, fingers blurring through the signs until she caught the slight hesitation in Zoe's expression. She slowed, a small, knowing smile forming as she repeated herself more deliberately. She's really pretty. Zoe's face lit up immediately. I know, right? She signed back, her movements loosening as a familiar playfulness slipped in. One brow arched as her hands took on a smug, exaggerated rhythm. Her beauty blinds me sometimes. She pressed a flat hand to her chest, pouting faintly for effect. Minha huffed a quiet laugh, rolling her eyes as she lifted her hand. She brought her fingers together in a pinch and bit down slightly on the tips. Zoe blinked, her hands pausing midair as she processed it. The motion clicked. Her eyes widened. Greedy? She blurted out, scandalized. That's funny. Mina, you're funny. I just met you and I'm like, you're funny. Hi, Dane. What we 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 have the trauma arc hopefully and the healing arc now. Learning kids will just assign Mira and Zoe's name with I love you for Twitter video. Oh, yeah, that's cute. We're still in Rumi's healing arc. She's learning sign language, and I'm playing lo-fi music in an attempt to cover up the stupid ice cream truck outside my window. So yeah. Outer thoughts number 38. Hopefully the chef eats us all up smut afterwards. I never realized how much expression went into learning sign language. I wouldn't have guessed it mattered that much. How your face shifted, how your eyes held something, how even the smallest movement carried weight. It wasn't just hands, it was everything. It was kind of beautiful, actually. The way meaning didn't just sit in words, but moved through the body like it needed to be seen to be understood. Feeling had to exist on the surface instead of being hidden somewhere behind a voice. I think what surprised me most was how honest it felt. It made me realize how much people rely on sound to cover things up, how easy it is to say something and not mean it, or mean something and not say it. But this didn't really let you do that. And I think that's why it stayed with me. Zoe? Yeah, Rumi? Zoe mumbled, barely looking up from her switch as she stayed completely absorbed in adjusting the outfit on one of her knees, squinting slightly while trying to decide if it had clashed with the shoes. Everyone's playing Tomodachi. She paused for a bit, her thumb hovering over the button as she waited for Rumi to keep going. Wait, Zoe's head snapped up, her brain lagging a second behind the realization as it finally clicked. Rumi talked! Actually talked. I didn't. I did not. That didn't click with me either. She goes, Zoe, not signed, not typed, not gestured, spoke. Zoe's eyes flicked over to her quickly, the surprise hitting fast and sharp, but just as quickly she forced it down, smoothed it over. She straightened slightly, schooling her expression into something casual, normal. Don't make it weird. Don't make it a thing. Rumi had talked before, she reminded herself quickly, so it's not new and it's not some huge moment. Don't look at her like it is. It had just been a while. That's all. Just her name. Still, something warm pushed at the corners of her mouth anyway, threatening. Yeah, Zoe said again, this time a little clearer and deliberately nonchalant, like nothing about this was different, like her chest hadn't just done that weird, tight flip. She finally took Rumi in properly and paused. Rumi looked surprised, like she hadn't meant to say it, like the word had slipped out without permission. Zoe blinked. Rumi was staring at her. Zoe stared back, her brows knitting slightly as she tilted her head, trying to read her expression. You Okay, fine. The word came out quick, too quick, before Rumi turned and walked away. Zoe blinked again, watching her go. Huh. And as the silence settled in around her, then going back in the direction Rumi had left, her brow together just a bit more. That had been weird. Not bad, just weird. We are reading two scum. Hello. Hello, I'm back. I'm back. Cool. Outer thoughts number 35. I said it and she heard me. And for a second, everything felt normal in a way I don't know how to hold on to. It's easier to leave than to stay and ruin it. Oh, girl. A long handwritten apology, huh? She knew how the thin sheet of notebook paper between his fingers, waving it lazily, but his grip was careful, like he already knew it mattered more than he was letting on. Rumi sat beside him, looking remarkably like a guilty puppy, with, with her knees pulled up to her chest and her hands fidgeting restlessly around them as she avoided eye contact with the determination of someone who already knew she was in trouble. When she nodded, small, careful, Gino glanced down at the page again, one brow lifting. To my best friend, Gino, he read aloud, voice already carrying that familiar edge of amusement. Wow, formal. Should I be worried? Rumi groaned quietly, dragging her hands over her face. Gino ignored them and continued reading. First of all, I am sorry. His voice softened slightly as his eyes moved down the page. Not for the things I said, but for the way I treated you. You were trying to help me, and I treated you like you were the problem. I was angry and hurting and confused, and instead of dealing with any of that, I took it out on you. You didn't deserve that. You especially didn't deserve, um, you especially didn't deserve being compared to people who hurt me when you've spent years doing the exact opposite. What I said about you and Celine was cruel, and I knew it was cruel when I said it. I said it because I wanted to hurt you the way I was hurting, and I'm sorry for that. The teasing faded from his expression as he read. His jaw tightened slightly, and the room seemed to grow quieter around them as his grip on the paper shifted slightly. You have always been there for me, even when I made it difficult. You stayed when I pushed people away, when I was angry, when I was unfair, and somehow you've continued to stay anyway. I don't think I say this enough, but you mean more to me than I know how to explain. Rumi peeked her fingers. She knew was still reading, his eyes fixed firmly on the paper. A lot of the good things in my life happened because you were there. Some of the hardest moments in my life were survivable because you were there. You are one of the most important people I've ever had, and I'm really sorry I made you feel otherwise. I don't expect you to just forgive me right away, but I hope eventually you can. I miss you, your dork of a best friend, Rumi. Silence settled between them when he finished. Rumi suddenly seemed fascinated by a spot on the floor while Gino looked down at the letter, then at her, then back at the letter again. You're serious? His voice came out quieter than he'd intended. Rumi gave a small, awkward shrug, chin resting on her knees again. Super. There was a weak smile there, but it didn't quite stick. Jimmy rolled his eyes immediately, mostly because if he didn't, he was fairly certain he was going to start crying, and that was unacceptable, or at least it should have been. Instead, he folded the letter carefully, far more carefully than necessary, and slipped it into his pocket. I'm keeping this. Rumi blinked. Gina pointed at her. As evidence that you actually have a heart in there somewhere. A tiny smile appeared on her face, and Gina looked away before it could affect him any further. He clicked his he clicked his he clicked his tongue, leaning back slightly before muttering, "I guess I can forgive you." Her eyes immediately started watering. Gina groaned the second he saw it. Oh my, seriously? You're gonna cry now? Rumi sniffed, pressing her lips together like she was trying not to. The tears only gathered faster. Rumi. A smile answered him. Rumi, I swear to God. Her lower lip trembled, and Gina groaned as he rubbed a hand over his face. You've got to stop doing this. A tear slipped down her cheek, and apparently that was enough. He exhaled, long and tired, and opened his arms. Come here, crybaby. That was all it took. Rumi practically collapsed into him, arms wrapping tight, like she'd been holding herself together up until that exact moment. The minute she buried her face against his shoulder, breath catching and quiet tears slipping out, Gino's expression softened and his hand settled on the back of her hand. You're an idiot. Rumi nodded against him. An unbelievable idiot. Another nod followed. But idiots make mistakes, and I love you, so I can excuse this. Just don't make it a habit. That finally broke whatever composure she had left. The tears fell heavier, and she buried her face deeper against him as her shoulders shook. Unfortunately, the second he heard her crying, his own eyes started burning. He blinked rapidly in the hope that it would help, but it didn't. A watery, helpless look escaped. Oh, come on. Rumi looked up slightly. Gina scrubbed at his eyes with a sleeve. Look what you did. His voice cracked despite his best efforts. Now you're making me cry. A startled sound escaped Rumi that landed somewhere between a laugh and a sob, and Ginu shook his head, pulling her back into the hug before she could get a good look at how emotional he was becoming. I miss you too. Outer thoughts, number 41. Rumi really need a hug. Mhm. Hello. Hi. If it's still there, Artie, Artie, could you buy me whatever strawberry shortcake was a nice new sandwich? I, I think it left. I think it left. Knock on wood. Thank you for reminding me about the screen shares, Sam. I forgot. I forgot. Okay. Hi. We're back. Thank you. Okay. I went to this video I was missing. Hello, I was looking around. Outer thoughts number 41. I think bonds are important, but not in the obvious way people usually talk about them. I mean the kind that just happen quietly, without any clear moment where they begin. You don't notice them forming at first because they build through small, ordinary things, sitting next to someone, remembering what they like, or finding yourself looking for them without really thinking about it. And then one day, without they matter more than you meant for them to, and more than you feel ready for. It's strange how someone can slowly become part of your routine, and then, without you realizing it, become part of you. Things start to feel slightly off when they're not there, like something small but important is missing. I think that's why bonds can feel so heavy sometimes, because once they're real, you can't just ignore them or pretend they don't exist. They settle into you in a way that makes them impossible to dismiss. And when you lose them, it doesn't feel like something simply leaving. It feels like something being taken. So I guess that's why they're valuable. because they give you something you don't want, something you want to hold on to, even when it's difficult, even when you're not sure how. I'm gonna put this like this. Rumi lingered against the wall longer than she meant to. The room was warm, Zoe half sprawled across the couch, Mira leaning against her, and the soft murmur of a movie filling the space. Neither of them noticed her at first, which was probably for the best because she still wasn't entirely sure how to start this conversation. Her finger curled into the sleeve of her sweater, tightening around the fabric before loosening again as she tried to steady herself. Rumi? Zoe was the first to look up, squinting slightly when she spotted her standing there. Rumi? Zoe glanced up first, squinting. Um, you've been standing there for like a full minute. Rumi blinked like she'd been pulled out of something. She pushed herself off the wall and stepped in, slow, shoulders a little stiff. Mira was watching her, expression softening in that quiet, perceptive way she had. She reached for the remote and muted the television before turning her full attention toward her. You okay? Rumi nodded too quickly, then again slower, like she was correcting it. Looking down at her hands, she rubbed her thumb against the side of her index finger over and over, grounding herself in familiar motion as she searched for words. I, um, her voice caught. She swallowed, trying again. "Ce- Celine, Celine. The name came out unevenly, better than it would have 2 months ago, but still required effort. She exhaled sharply, frustration flickering across her face before she pushed through it. Later, me and her. Her voice trailed off before she could finish the thought. She swallowed again, throat dry. Zoe sat up a little straighter, but neither she nor Mira interrupted. They didn't rush her or try to fill the silence. They simply waited, giving her space. We're visiting my ma. Rumi's jaw tightened. My ma. Her mouth opened, closed, then opened again. My, my. Her breath hitched and she stopped, letting out a tired breath through her nose, then lifted her hands instead. Mira's eyes followed immediately. Moms, she offered gently, signing the words at the same time. Rumi glanced up. Mira repeated the sign slowly, giving her something to hold on to, instead of forcing her to wrestle the word out on her own. Relief loosened something in Rumi's chest, nodding quickly. Her hands echoed the sign back, a little clumsy but intentional. My mom's, she sighed. For a moment, she stared at the floor, uncertainty flickering. Her brows pulled together slightly. She didn't know the next word. Her lips parted. Right, she managed, voice rougher than she intended, like it scraped on the way out. Her hand came up automatically, rubbing at her throat, an old habit she still hadn't managed to break. The room went quieter. Rumi shifted her weight, then lifted her hands again, slower now. You too. The signs came carefully. She was getting better, but she still had to think through some of them before they felt natural. Her gaze moved between Zoe and Mira, and there was something vulnerable in her expression now. Eyes slightly glassy, something uncertain beneath the hope. Come with me, she signed, smaller this time, to meet her. Zoe blinked, then her expression softened all at once as the meaning settled in. Yeah, yeah, of course. A small smile tugged at her lips. I'd love to. Mira didn't hesitate. We'd be honored. The sincerity in her voice nearly undid Rumi. She looked away quickly, blinking harder than necessary at emotion threatened to rise to the surface. Zoe noticed. So did Mira. Neither of them pointed it out. Instead, Zoe scooted closer and bumped her shoulder lightly against Rumi's arm. We'd like to meet her. We'd like to meet her. Rumi looked down at her hands for a moment before nodding. A small smile appeared on her face again, fragile but real, and for the first time since she'd walked into the room, the knots that had been sitting in her chest began to loosen. Water break. Yeah. Her outer thoughts are just her therapist like telling her just write things down, things you notice, things you see, things just anything. Write anything down when you want to say something. Um, but just not even say, but just when you like think it. It's like a coping mechanism. I don't know why would I have a TikTok. I do need to check out Enjoy the Silence. I know. I'm meeting the mother. This will go better than meeting the father. Please. It was cloudy when they got there. The sky hung low and heavy, a soft gray that pressed down over everything. The wind pushed quietly through the grass, bending it in slow waves as Rumi stepped forward, the bouquet clutched carefully in both hands. The stems trembled slightly, or maybe it was just her. By the time she reached the gravestone, her vision had already started to blur. Rumi stopped, and for a moment she simply stood there, staring at the name carved into the stone. As she lowered herself down, the grass cool beneath her jeans as she sat. A small breath left her, unsteady, like her body wasn't entirely sure how to hold it. Her fingers tightened around the bouquet before she forced them to loosen, placing it carefully near the stone. She glanced over her shoulder. They were still waiting. Rumi hesitated, just for a moment, before giving a small nod. It was enough. Mira and Zoe approached quietly and sat on either side of her, close enough that she could feel them without need, and the comfort of that settled somewhere deep in her chest. For a while, nobody spoke. Rumi stared at the flowers, and finally, almost too quietly to hear, she said, "Hi, Mama." The words left her unevenly. Her fingers curled into the fabric of her pants as she swallowed against the tightness in her throat. I, I brought, she began, but the words faltered. She squeezed her eyes shut for a moment, overwhelmed, then shook her head slightly as if she could steady herself by starting again. Carefully. Please, she finished, almost under her breath. Dang it, I should have played flowers at the end of this stream. I didn't know. I didn't know. I didn't know. Flowers. Anyway, a pause. Her chest rose and fell unevenly. Not your favorite, Ruby added, but their alternative. Her fingers twisted together in her lap. Salvia. She nodded once, like confirming it to herself. Not, not lavender. Rumi inhaled sharply, her shoulders tensing as her gaze dropped hard to her lap. Her grip tightened, knuckles paling as her hands clenched together. Lavender is. She stopped. Her throat worked, but nothing came out. But nothing comes out. Eurydice, Rumi, making its way into my brain. Nothing came out. Chest stuttering with another breath. God, she forced out finally, the word thin and strained. It felt wrong in her mouth, incomplete, like it didn't hold everything it was supposed to. Rumi blinked rapidly, her vision blurring as she tipped her head back, staring up at the heavy gray sky. Don't. Her lips trembled before she pressed them together. Later, she muttered, barely audible. Later topic. She could already feel it slipping away from her, the ability to keep speaking. Anything more felt like pushing against something immovable. Her throat burned. Rumi lowered her gaze again, staring at the stone without really seeing it. But she tried, and the words dissolved before they could form. Rumi's shoulders curled in slightly, like she was bracing for something that wasn't coming, but still hurt anyway. I, she tried again, smaller this time, but nothing followed. The air shifted slightly, straightening without letting go of her hand. I can go, she said quietly, glancing at Rumi more for permission than anything else. Rumi didn't look at her, but her grip tightened just slightly. You're understood. She nodded once and drew in a steadying breath. Hi, she began, her voice careful but steady. I'm Mira, one of Ruby's girlfriends, which, yeah, you probably already know that. A small, nervous breath slipped out as she put her thumb gently over the back of Rumi's hand. She's told me, she continued, softer now, about how you took care of her, how you made things feel safe, like she never had to question where she stood. Her voice wavered just slightly, and I need you to know that she's not alone. Her gaze flickered to the gravestone, then dipped again. I take care of her. I take care of her too, she said, quieter. I make sure that she eats, even when she forgets, or pretends she's not hungry. I make sure she sleeps. I let out a small, uneven breath. I try to take care of the quiet things, the things people don't always notice. She said softly, and I try to be there in the ways that matter, even the ones she doesn't ask for. Her thumbs brushed lightly across Rumi's knuckles. I cook mostly. That's kind of my thing, I think. I would have tried to win you over with your favorite dish, with the help of Rumi, of course, telling me what it is. Rumi's shoulders shifted, just barely, a faint smile tugging at the corner of her mouth. Caught it, then looked back down. I think if I'd met you properly, I would have been terrified, she admitted, a quiet honesty settling into her tone. I would have rehearsed everything 100 times, overthought it, and probably still said something wrong. But I would have meant it. I would have meant how much I love her, how much I admire her, how strong she is, even when she doesn't see it. Her grip tightened just slightly, and how much she means to me. She swallowed, blinking quickly as her gaze dropped for a moment. I would have wanted you to like me, she added, softer now, because you matter to her, and that makes you matter to me. A small pause. To a wonderful daughter. You'd be proud of how far she's come. Nira sniffed, wrapping an arm around Rumi's shoulder and pulling her close, a soft kiss to her head. I know I am. That's all I have, she finished, her voice quieter now, like she'd said everything that mattered. The space that followed wasn't empty. It settled, like everything that needed to be said was still hanging gently in the air. Zoe shifted slightly on Ruby's other side, drawing in a slow breath as she leaned forward, resting her elbows against her knees. Hi, she said softly. I'm Zoe. Her voice was quieter than usual, careful in a way that didn't quite come naturally to her, like she was trying not to disturb something fragile. I'm also one of her girlfriends. A faint, almost sheepish smile tugged at her mouth. Her eyes flickered to Rumi for a second, warm, a little aching, before drifting back to the gravestone. I think you would have liked me, she added, her mouth tilting into a crooked grin. I'm very charming. That's kind of my thing. Mira let out a quiet scoff beside her. Oh my God. Zoe huffed a soft laugh, nudging her lightly with her shoulder. I'm just saying, I wouldn't have had to bribe you with food or anything. Please, Mira shot back, rolling her eyes. My cooking is the reason any of this works. Yeah, yeah, Zoe murmured, still smiling. Keep telling yourself that. A soft, unexpected chuckle slipped from Rumi, her shoulders loosening just a little between them. Zoe glanced at her, her smile softening for a second before she looked back toward the gravestone. I mean it, though, she added, a little more lightly now. I would have shown up confident, said something smooth, probably tripped over my own words halfway through, but I would have recovered. I'm good at that. Her expression eased, the humor settling into something warmer as I think, no, I know I would have liked you too, she said more quietly. From everything I've heard, from the way she talks about you, even when she doesn't realize she is. Her fingers curled slightly around Rumi's. And if she needs somewhere to fall apart, Zoe added, softer now, something deeper settling into her tone. If she needs a shoulder to cry on, or someone to just sit there and listen without trying to fix anything, that's me. Her grip tightened just slightly. I'll be there for that, every time. Another quiet breath. I won't let her feel alone, and the words lingered, heavier now, more rooted. And I'll make sure she laughs too, Zoe added after a moment, a hint of that crooked warmth returning, even when she pretends she doesn't want to. Her gaze flickered briefly to Rumi again, fond. I'm pretty good at that part. I think you'd want that. I love her, Zoe finished simply. A lot. Rumi managed a small, fragile smile at them, the kind that didn't quite hold, before she reached into her pocket with unsteady fingers. I, she started, her voice already thin, catching at the edges. She sniffed quietly, blinking down as she pulled out a folded piece of paper. I wrote you a letter. Oh, sorry, that was Rumi. I, um, I wrote you a letter. The paper trembled slightly in her hands. I'll, I'll try to read it, she said, almost apologetically, her words slowing as if she had to place each one carefully to keep it from slipping away. I'm having trouble speaking. It's She huffed out a small, wet breath, shaking her head faintly. Long story. I don't want to bore you. Her grip tightened around the page before she looked down at it, unfolding it with careful, deliberate movements. For a moment, she just stared. Then she drew in a breath that didn't quite reach where it needed to. Dear Oma, she began. The words barely made it out. Her vision blurred almost immediately, the ink on the page smearing as tears gathered faster than she could blink them away. I'm sorry, she continued, her voice wavering, smaller now. I'm sorry, it's been a while since I last saw you, since I talked to you. Her throat worked around the words. She swallowed, but it didn't help much. I She tried again, her grip tightening on the paper as a tear slipped free, landing directly on the page. The ink darkened where it hit. Rumi squeezed her eyes shut for a second, steadying herself. A lot of things have happened, she managed, quieter now, like speaking any louder would break something. Since the last time I've been here, I don't I don't want to get into too much detail, she went on, her voice slowing further, each word pulled up with effort. But she hesitated. Her lips parted, then pressed together again. I met him. The sentence sat there, heavier than anything she'd said so far. Rumi's shoulders tensed as another breath hit in her chest. Was she started, then faltered, her voice breaking apart mid thought. He was everything I expected, and not at the same time. The rest collapsed before it could form. A small sound slipped out instead. Rumi shook her head quickly, like she could shake the words back into place, but they didn't come. Sorry, she murmured, barely audible now. Her hands lowered slightly, the paper trembling more noticeably as her vision blurred completely. She couldn't see the words anymore, couldn't hold them steady long enough to say them. Rumi hesitated for a second longer, like she was still trying to push through it, still trying to do it herself. Then, slowly, she held the paper out. Her hand hovered between Mira and Zoe, uncertain for half a second before Zoe reached out and took it gently. I've got it, Zoe said, her voice quiet, steady in a way Rumi couldn't be right now. Her other hand came up to rub slow, soothing circles against Rumi's back. Rumi let out a small, broken breath, something between relief and apology. She turned toward the gravestone, lowering herself further until her forehead pressed softly against the cool surface. Her eyes shut tightly. For a moment, she let herself pretend that it was warm, that it was familiar, that it was her. Zoe adjusted the paper carefully, smoothing out the creases where pulled it, her eyes scanning the lines before she began. When she spoke, her voice was gentle, but steady enough to carry what Rumi couldn't. He was everything I expected, but not at the same time. Unfortunately, I found out some things, horrible things, the kind that don't sit quietly after you learn them, the kind that rearrange everything you thought you understood and leave nothing where it used to be. The wind moved faintly through the grass. You were wronged, Zoe continued, her voice dipping slightly, in ways I don't think I have the words for, not ones that feel big enough. You did nothing wrong, and still, they took something from you. They took everything from you. Her grip on the paper tightened almost imperceptibly before she went on. They poisoned you with something you loved, something you trusted, something that was never supposed to hurt you. A breath. Lavender. The word lingered. I keep thinking about that, Zoe read, quieter now. About how something so soft could be turned into something so cruel. How something that was yours first was used against you like that. Rumi's shoulders trembled faintly beneath Mira's arm. I'm sorry, Zoe continued, her voice gentler now, as if she were holding the words as carefully as Rumi had written them. But I don't think I can do lavender anymore. Another pause. I can't smell something that took you away from me. I can't carry it on my skin and pretend it still means the same thing it used to. It doesn't. It can't. Her voice wavered slightly, but she kept going. It hurts. It hurts in a way that doesn't fade after a moment. It lingers. It sits in my chest and makes it hard to breathe, like I'm inhaling something I know isn't safe but can't stop anyway. The paper shifted faintly in her hands. That's why I brought salvias, she read, because I needed something that wasn't touched by that, something that could exist without hurting me, something that could mean you without meaning that. The sentence softened toward the end. It feels like my world flipped over, Zoe continued, slower now. And I've been trying to find where the ground is ever since. I keep thinking if I just churn it enough, if I just hold on long enough, it'll settle again. But it hasn't. Her voice dropped. I don't know if it will. The wind passed again, quieter this time. Lavender was how I held on to you, her tone threading carefully through the words. It was how I remembered you when I was afraid or of forgetting. It was something small and constant and safe. And now it isn't any of those things. A breath caught, almost inaudible. It feels like losing you twice. Rumi's hands tightened where they rested, her forehead still pressed to the stone. I hate that, Zoe read softly. I hate that something that was supposed to bring me closer to you now makes me feel like I'm watching it happen all over again. The words settled heavily between them. So I have to let it go, she continued. Even though I don't want to, even though it feels like I'm letting go of part of you too. Her voice gentled. I know you wouldn't want me to hold on to something that hurts me like this. I know you wouldn't want to be remembered through something that causes pain instead of comfort. I'm trying to believe that. A pause. I hope you're not mad at me, Zoe read, quieter now, for choosing something else, for choosing something that lets me breathe. The paper trembled slightly in her hands. You still mean everything to me, she continued. That hasn't changed. That will never change. I just need to find a way to carry you that doesn't break me every time I try. Her voice softened even more. I'm still yours, just differently now. A final breath. I love you. Always your little plum. Zoe's voice fell quiet as she reached the end. Rumi. Silence followed, full in a way that pressed in on all sides. Zoe lowered the paper slowly, her eyes glassy as she exhaled, like she had been holding her breath the entire time. Behind her, Mira's arms tightened around Rumi, pulling her closer, one hand coming up to cradle the back of her head as she pressed her cheek gently against her hair. Rumi didn't lift her head from the stone. Her shoulders shook as the sobs finally came, quiet at first, then heavier, her breath breaking unevenly as everything she'd been holding in gave way all at once. Zoe moved closer without hesitation, wrapping her arms around her from the other side, grounding her there between them. Rumi cried into the space between the stone and their arms, her chest aching, raw and open. Hey, water time. Yeah. Wait, what was tossing? Everyone crowed. Oh, oh, oh. I bet all the money in the world that Young is full on sobbing right now. Oh, my Shaylas. Yeah, yeah. One more sip because throat hurt. Does so much up after reading this chapter. Nor. Rumi stared at the gravestone without blinking. She had pulled her knees up to her chest at some point, arms wrapped loosely around them, her chin resting against the fabric, as if that alone could keep her steady. Her eyes stayed fixed on the carved letters, tracing them over and over without really reading them anymore. Everything felt quiet in a way that wasn't peaceful, just still. Zoe and Mira had stepped away a while ago after she'd asked for a minute. Neither of them had argued, just exchanged a look before squeezing her shoulder and giving her the space she needed, or said she needed. The wind moved through the grass in soft waves, brushing against her arms, lifting a few strands of her hair before letting them fall again. It was enough to pull her attention away, if only for a second. A soft rustle came from her side. Rumi blinked and looked up. Celine. She hadn't noticed her approach. For a moment, Rumi just watched her, eyes still slightly unfocused, unfocused, before she shifted instinctively, scooting over to make room without being asked. Celine took it. She lowered herself down slowly, folding onto her legs with that same practiced ease she carried around, even during times like this. In her hands, she held a small bundle of flowers, which she placed carefully at the base of the gravestone, adjusting them until they sat just right. White tulips and blue hyacinths. Rumi's gaze lingered on them for a second before drifting back to the stone. Neither of them spoke. The wind passed through once more, softer now, carrying the faint scent of damp earth. Somewhere in the distance, thunder rolled low across the sky, quiet but unmistakable. It was going to rain soon. Celine leaned forward slightly, her posture forward, her hands resting loosely in her lap. She didn't look at Rumi, didn't look at anything in particular. Her eyes were fixed somewhere ahead, but not quite here. Do you still remember the night your mother died? The words slipped into the space between them so suddenly that, for a second, they didn't feel real. Rumi blinked, slowly, like her mind needed an extra moment to catch up to what she had just heard. She turned her head towards Celine, her brows pulling together faintly, confusion flickering across her face before something sharper began to take its place. Celine hadn't moved. She didn't react, didn't look at her, didn't soften the question or take it back. If anything, she looked further away. Her gaze had gone distant, glassy in a way that made it hard to tell what she was actually seeing, like she was looking through the gravestone instead of at it, pulled somewhere else entirely, somewhere Rumi couldn't follow. Rumi's chest tightened. She searched Celine's face, trying to find something, anything that would explain it. Some sign that she hadn't meant it like that she hadn't just dropped something so heavy into the quiet without warning. But there was nothing there, just that far off look again. The silence stretched, long enough to start pressing in. Then, slowly, Celine turned her head, just enough to look at her. Do you? Her voice was softer this time, but it landed harder. Rumi's breath caught somewhere in her chest, her body going still in a way that felt almost instinctive. Her fingers curled into the fabric of her pants, gripping it tightly as if she needed something solid to hold on to. She swallowed, slow and thick, her gaze dropping for just a second before lifting again, unsure of where to land. A small nod followed, barely there. Yes. It didn't feel like enough. It didn't explain anything, didn't even begin to touch what the question had pulled up inside her. Her chest rose unevenly as she leaned back slightly, her shoulders tensing as her eyes squeezed shut. How could she not remember? Rumi POV, yay! Yay! Girl, I've been saying that Selena's Pearl since the fucking beginning. I've been saying that Selena's Pearl since the fucking beginning. um I think there's still a channel in our Discord that is like Steven Universe AU channel that's not being used because like I cannot do anything. I can't. Oh, but yeah, exactly. Ah, and Steven is Rumi. And Steven is Rumi. Even the half human part of it. Like literally it's too perfect. No, I'm gonna be obsessed with this. It's so sad. Well, yes. Well, yes. Is this a part two? This is a part two to yesterday's stream because I left it halfway. Now we're getting Rumi POV of the day Miyang died. How lovely. Muffled voices, footsteps, the soft shuffle of movement where there shouldn't have been any. Blurry-eyed, still heavy with sleep, Rumi reached out in front of her as she moved, fingers brushing through the dark to keep from bumping into anything. She found the door, opened it. The hallway stretched out before her, dim but not entirely dark. Light spilled from one place only, cutting through the shadows in a narrow, uneven line. Her mother's room. The voices grew clearer as she stepped out, no longer muffled but still low, controlled in a way that felt deliberate. Her stomach twisted. Something was wrong. She knew it before she understood it. She moved faster down the hall, her steps uneven, breath catching slightly in her chest. She passed the bathroom without really looking, but something was there. A shape collapsed in on itself. A person. A woman hunched forward, crying into her hands as if trying to hold the sound in. It slipped through anyway, raw and shaking, breaking into the quiet in uneven pieces. Rumi didn't stop, didn't slow. Her mind skipped over it entirely, like it couldn't afford to process more than one thing at once. Her focus locked onto one thing and one thing only. Her mom. TOD 1445. Rumi blinked. The numbers echoed strangely in her head as she reached the doorway, and then she saw her. Her mom laid on the bed, too still, too quiet. Her skin looked wrong, pale, but not the kind of pale that came from rest or illness. Something duller, heavier, like color had been drained and left behind something gray and lifeless, like wax after a flame had long since burned out. Her lips held a faint purple tint, bruised at the edges in a way that felt unnatural. But her face was calm, smoother than Rumi had seen it in months. There was no strain there, no tension caught in the lines around her eyes, no quiet exhaustion weighing down her expression. She looked at peace. Rumi stepped forward without realizing it. One step, then another. Her body moved on its own, pulled closer by something she couldn't name, her eyes fixed on her mother's chest as she waited. For movement, for breath, for her fingers to move, for anything that would make this make sense. Nothing came. The paramedics began working with quiet efficiency, their motions practiced, careful. One stretcher waiting just outside the room. Ruby didn't understand what they were doing. Not really. Not until they started to move her body, carefully, gently, like she might still feel it. They transferred her onto the stretcher, securing her in place with quiet, methodical movements. A sheet was drawn up, straightened. Rumi's steps faltered. The space between her and the bed suddenly felt too wide. Oma? The word barely made it out, thin and uncertain, like it might disappear before reaching anyone. No one answered. The stretcher began to move. It rolled forward, steady and quiet, the wheels whispering against the floor as it passed her. Close enough that she could still see her mother's face beneath the sheet, still see that same unnatural stillness. And then it kept going, out into the hallway, away. Rumi turned without thinking, her hand lifting as if something in her believed she could stop it, that if she just far enough. Her fingers caught on the sleeve of the last paramedic as he moved to follow. He stopped. Jesus. He stopped. He stopped, startled, turning back to her. Look at him. Her eyes stayed fixed on the stretcher, on the shape of her mother growing smaller with every second. Is she dead? The question slipped out before she could stop it, soft, almost absent. The paramedic hesitated, then he nodded. Yes. She passed away. Rumi didn't react. Her gaze remained locked on the stretcher as it moved further down the hall, the distance stretching until the details blurred, until it became nothing more than a shape turning a corner and disappearing from view. Her fingers curled slowly into her palm, tightening without her noticing, nails pressing into skin as if she needed something solid to hold on to. She had known, not in a way she ever said out loud, not in a way anyone had sat her down and explained, but it had been there, in the quiet spaces between doctor visits and the late night silences, in the way her mom moved slower each week, in the way the house had started to revolve around medication schedules and measured steps and careful silences, in the way Rumi had begun to notice things she wished she didn't. She had known it was coming, someday, later, at a distance she didn't have to think about yet, but not like this. The space between going to sleep and waking up, not without warning, without a final moment she could hold on to, without even the chance to say goodbye in a way that meant something. Her chest tightened, something sharp and unfamiliar pressing against her ribs, expanding slowly until it felt like there wasn't enough room for it inside her. She should have been ready. That thought came suddenly, harsh and accusing. She should have known what to do, what to feel, how to stand here without everything inside her going strangely, terrifyingly quiet. But there was nothing. No understanding, no acceptance, just the same hollow word, swallowing every thought before her lips parted slightly, though nothing came out this time. The police will be here shortly to ask a few questions, the paramedic continued, his tone polite. And your mother will be transported to hospital's morgue. He gave a small bow, brief and respectful, the kind that felt automatic, and then he turned away. The stretcher was already gone, its absence louder than its presence had been. A moment later, the faint sound of the ambulance doors echoed from outside, heavy and final. And then there was nothing. Rumi stood where she was, her eyes fixed as if staring hard enough might undo it, might pull it open again, might bring them all back like nothing of this had actually happened. Fingers twisted together at her waist, slow at first, restless, before tightening without her noticing. You have to be a big girl now, Rumi. Umma would have wanted that. Her grip tightened until it hurt, the pressure building in her hands until it turned sharp, grounding in a way nothing else was. Something real she could hold on to, something that didn't slip through her fingers the way everything else seemed to. Because everything else felt distant, unreal, as if it had already begun slipping out of her reach. Slowly, she turned back down the hallway, gaze lowered to the floor like that might keep things steady. She ignored the way her toe clipped the edge of the hallway shelf, ignored the dull sting that followed. She passed the bathroom without looking, ignored the woman folded in on herself inside, her quiet sobbing spilling into the hall, ignored the strange feeling of the world still being in motion. She just kept walking. She reached her room and pushed the door shut behind her. Careful click. And for a moment, she just stood there. Then she moved. She climbed back into her bed, pulling the covers up around herself, tucking them in like she always did, body settling into the mattress. She turned her head slightly as she stared at the wall across from her, eyes open, unblinking. So her Ummah was really gone. The thought didn't land all at once. It hovered, lingering just out of reach. Rumi blinked slowly, once, then again, as if that might help it settle into something she could understand. It didn't. Her breath caught without warning, sharp and uneven, like something inside her chest had split open along a seam she didn't know was there. The air didn't come back the same. Her vision blurred, the wall in front of her softening and warping as her hands curled tightly into themselves, fingers locking together as if she could hold everything in place If she just didn't let go, if she held on hard enough. But she couldn't. It came anyway. A broken sound forced its way out of her throat, unfamiliar and raw, her shoulders folding inward as the first sob hit hard enough to leave her gasping. Her chest heaved, struggling to catch up, and then another followed, and another, each one tearing through her faster than she could brace for. It didn't ease in. It all came at once. Too fast for her to understand, too much for her to stop. Tomorrow morning, the bed across the hall would be empty. The house would stay quiet. No voice calling her name, no soft good morning through the door, no footsteps moving gently down the hallway, no warmth waiting for her, no familiar hands brushing through, no quiet stories, no small, ordinary things she had never thought to hold on to, never thought she could ever lose. No her, no Oma. Oma? The word tore out of her, louder this time, breaking apart as it left her, something desperate and small, and far too young for the shape of it. She curled in on herself, her body folding tight as if she could contain it, as if she could keep the grief from spilling her completely. She couldn't. It consumed her. The sobs didn't stop. She cried for her mother, for the warmth faded from the world, for the voice she would never hear again, for the space that would remain no matter how much time passed, no matter what tried to fill it, for the unbearable truth that her mother had already begun to turn into something distant, something untouchable, a memory she would spend for the rest of her life missing. She cried until it hurt, until her chest ached and her throat burned and her breath came in broken pieces. And even then, she didn't stop, because stopping didn't change anything. It didn't bring her back. It didn't undo the silence. It didn't make the house feel like a home again. Nothing would. Not anymore. It's fine. I'm fine. Baby Rumi. She's too small to be a big girl. Sorry, I'm looking at TikTok has features apparently. What the heck is this? What are you doing to my face? Anyway, I'm trying to change something because I keep getting silly notifs. Anyway, Rumi stared hard at the ground, her jaw tight, her gaze fixed on a single patch of grass as if it might anchor her there while the memory moved through her. I was the one who called the paramedics, Celine said quietly. Her voice didn't break. If anything, that made it worse. She died in my arms that day. Oh, my doomed Yuri. Oh, my doomed Yuri. The words settled between them, heavy and unmoving, pressing into the silence until it felt hard to breathe. Rumi turned to her, eyes widening before she could stop herself. Something sharp caught in her chest as she searched Celine's face for anything, any flicker of doubt, of softness, of something that might make it less final. But there was nothing. Celine only nodded once, her gaze fixed somewhere ahead, distant in a way that felt practiced, as if she had lived inside that moment so many times she could say it now without breaking. Rumi's hand moved before she thought about it. Her fingers slipped into Celine's, holding gently at first, then tightening, like she could steady something that refused to be steadied. Her fingers slipped into Celine's, holding gently at first, then tightening, as if she could steady something that refused. Oh, yeah, I read that. Celine startled at the contact, her head turning quickly, her composure cracked just enough, eyes glossing over and something raw surfacing beneath the calm she had been holding on to. Rumi, she started, but the words faltered. Her gaze dropped to their joined hands, her thumb brushing over Rumi's knuckles, grounding herself in the contact. There are things I haven't been truthful with you about, she said more quietly, about me and Myung. Rumi blinked, her brows pulling together slightly, confusion threading through the grief still sitting heavy in her chest. Celine swallowed, her throat working before she forced the words out. She was my best friend. That part is true. A pause, a breath. But I was in love with her. Woo! Shout out my doomed Yuri. My doomed Yuri. Everything about her seemed to narrow, the edges of the world fading as the words tried to settle into place. Celine finally looked at her then, fully, romantically, she added, quieter now. And she loved me too. Rumi's mind struggled to catch up, to rearrange something it hadn't known needed rearranging. The image she had of her mother shifted, not broken, just different, wider, more complex. Her mouth parted slightly, but nothing came out at first. She looked at Celine again, searching, trying to understand what this meant. Not just for Celine, but for her mom, for everything she thought she knew. You loved her, Rumi said slowly, testing the words. Celine nodded once. There was no hesitation in that part. Rumi swallowed, her chest tightening again, but this time it was only grief. It was something else. It wasn't only grief, it was something else, something softer that ached in a different way. My mom, she started, her voice quieter now and more uncertain. She loved you? Celine's expression shifted, something fragile flickering through it. Yeah, she said, almost a whisper. She did. Sorry, she did. The words heard between them, not as crushing as before, but not light either, just real. Rumi let out a small breath, her gaze dropping before lifting again, something almost disbelieving slipping through despite everything else. So she began, hesitating, finishing more softly. You're gay? Celine blinked, caught off guard. You're gay? She cried. Her expression shifting with a flicker of something almost awkwardly. I never really labeled it, she said. But I loved her, and that much I know. Rumi nodded slowly, taking that in, and after a moment her brows knit slightly as another realization settled. My mom liked girls, she murmured, more to herself than anyone else. Not loud or abrupt, but simply her trying to understand. Celine huffed out the faintest breath of something that could have been a laugh, though it didn't quite reach her eyes. It might run in the family. And then Rumi broke. Tears spilled over again, sudden and unstoppable. Oh no! Oh my god. Celine gives the most tragic emotional speech ever. Rumi, that's kind of gay. But then she starts crying. Oh my god. Celine blinked, thrown completely off balance now, her posture shifting as she leaned closer, concern flickering across her face. Are you are you upset with me for not telling you sooner? I'm sorry, Rumi. I didn't know how to. Rumi shook her head quickly, pulling her hand back just enough to wipe at her face, her breath hitching as she tried to speak through it. No. Oh my god, stop inviting me. No. Celine stilled, searching her expression, clearly lost now. Then why are you crying? Rumi tried to answer, but the words tangled somewhere between her chest and her throat. She let out a shaky breath, her face scrunching as more tears spilled over. Because, she started, her voice breaking, we could have She swallowed hard, the thought itself painful to hold. We could have bonded, she managed, the words fragile and earnest. Bonded over liking to kiss girls. I know this is supposed to be an emotional speech, but my god, I'm cracking. They could have bonded over liking to kiss girls. I feel bad for laughing, but also I'm sorry. Like real. Real as hell. Okay. The sentence hung there, awkward, sincere, and aching. For a moment, Celine just stared at her. Then something in her gave way. The tension in her shoulders loosened all at once, a soft, disbelieving breath leaving her as her head dipped. Oh, Rumi. She reached forward without hesitation, pulling her into her arms. You're such a strange thing, she murmured, her voice thick but gentle, and moving in slow, steady circles against Rumi's back. Rumi clung to her, fingers curling tightly into the fabric of her coat. I'm sorry, I don't, she hiccuped, the words tumbling over each other. I don't know why I said that. I just thought about it and I know, Celine whispered. I know. They stayed like that for a moment, long enough for the sharpest edge of the grief to dull, long enough for the silence to feel shared instead of heavy. Eventually, Celine pulled back slightly, her hand lingering before she reached into her coat pocket and pulled out a folded piece of paper. It was worn, creased at the edges, softened with time. I found one of her poems, she said quietly. There was something different in her voice now, still heavy, but careful, almost reverent. She held it out, and Rumi took it with both hands, her fingers trembling slightly as she unfolded it. The ink was faded, but still clear. Little dove, you're the beauty of the world as my eyes, which means everything I see is a little bit of you. The sky, too big, a little dramatic, still yours. The sun, overachiever, definitely yours. That one flower growing out of a crack in the sidewalk, that's you on a Tuesday. I used to think the world was something I had to survive. Then you laughed, and suddenly it was something I got to show off. Look, I wanted to tell it. Look what I made. And yes, I know I didn't do it alone, but I was there for the best parts. Little dove, don't you worry so much. The sky is wide enough for all your questions. If your heart feels too full, let it spill. That's how things grow. Little dove, if your hands ever feel empty, it's only because you're meant to hold more. If your heart feels too full, that's because it learned from mine. And mine, well, mine learned how to grow the day you arrived. And if you ever feel small, and as if the world forgot to make space for you, I will stretch my arms across the horizon and say, look, there you are, exactly where you belong. You cry like storms that pass quickly. You laugh like you mean it forever. And you love. Oh, you love like it's something you invented. You laugh with your whole self, bright and impossible to ignore. And I think if joy had a voice, it would sound like you. So don't make yourself smaller, little dove. The world is better when you take up space in it. Not the world, not fear, not even yourself on the days you forget who you are, especially not then. If you ever feel lost, stand in the sunlight. I swear you'll recognize yourself there. That's where I kept all the pieces of you I was afraid to drop. And if one day I'm not there to say all of this out loud, just remember, you were loved before you knew what love was. You were chosen before you could choose back. And you were seen completely, loudly, joyfully seen by me. You were loved in a way that doesn't fade, the kind that stays, always by me. Little dove, Go be as big as you already are. The world will catch up eventually. Little dove. R. Myung. This literally like sounds like a poem I would write, not gonna lie. I feel Rumi's vision blurred before she even reached the end. Her grip tightened on the paper as her shoulders trembled, a quiet, broken breath slipping out of her. She wrote this? She whispered. Celine nodded, her eyes fixed on the page, her expression softer now, aching but steadier. Yeah, she said. That's her. Rumi let out a shaky laugh through her tears, pressing the paper tighter against her chest as though she could somehow hold onto the person who had written it. Keep it, Celine said softly. Rumi looked up at her then, more tears slipping free as she nodded, her fingers curling tighter around the worn edges of the page, like she was afraid it might disappear if she loosened her grip. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Celine lifted her gaze to the sky, her eyes closing briefly, trying to hold together a crack that had never truly healed. My mind still thinks about it. Her words were quiet. Rumi looked up from the poem. For a moment, neither of them spoke while the wind moved softly through the cemetery grass. Celine swallowed. She should still be here. The way her voice broke immediately was enough for Rumi to understand how much effort it took to keep speaking. Celine pressed a hand against her mouth and fell silent for a moment. When she finally spoke again, her voice came out smaller. She should have been there when you started high school. She should have helped you fill out questions. Celine's shoulders shook. She should have met your girlfriends. Rumi's eyes squeezed shut. A broken sob escaped before she could stop it. Celine looked down at her hands. I know exactly what she would have done. She would have embarrassed you. She would have taken 100 pictures. She would have cried when you moved out. Rumi let out a broken laugh that collapsed into another sob before she could catch it. And she would have called me every day, she managed, her voice shaking, just to tell me how much she missed you. Celine dragged a hand across her face, rough, like she could wipe the grief away if she pressed hard enough, but it didn't stop the tears. I still reach for my phone sometimes, she admitted, her voice thinning. I still think about calling her. Celine let out a short, hollow laugh. I'll see something stupid, something she would have loved, and for a second, her voice faltered. For one perfect second, I forget. She swallowed, her words catching on the way down. And then it comes back. Rumi's chest tightened painfully because she knew that feeling too well, the cruel mercy of forgetting, the way the world would right itself for a heartbeat before snapping back into place. It never stopped hurting. Not the first time, not the 100th. I hate that, Celine said, quietly, her voice hardening around the edges. I hate them for that. The shift in her tone was sharp enough to cut through the air between them. They took her from us. They took your mother. They took the other half of my heart. They don't get to move on like it didn't matter. The wind stirred through the grass, soft and restless, landed heavy. Your family doesn't get to bury this and go back to their lives like like she was nothing, like she was collateral damage. Her hands curled into fists at her sides, tension pulling through her shoulders. They don't get peace, she continued, quieter now, but no less certain. They don't get normal days. They don't get to forget. Her gaze dropped to the name carved into the stone. I've had to remember every single day, she said, her voice breaking again, softer this time. So will they. She reached out then, her hand settling on Rumi's shoulder, firm, steady, grounding. I don't care how long it takes, she said, her resolve in her voice settling in, unshakable. Years, if that's what it costs. I'll take everything from them the way they took everything from her, piece by piece, if I have to. Rumi couldn't breathe past the weight pressing against her ribs, couldn't think through the ache swelling in her chest. This doesn't end quietly, Celine went on, her grip tightening just slightly. I won't let it. I'll make sure they remember her name. Her thumb shifted faintly against Rumi's shoulder, grounding, certain. I swear that to you. I'll make sure she gets justice. Rumi sniffed, her vision blurring again as everything inside her twisted and spilled over. She nodded anyway, small but steady. Okay. I love a vengeance plot. I love a vengeance plot, y'all. Listen. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm excited. Maybe I was just so far off with my John Wick style vengeance plot idea. Oh my god. Oh. Why did I get a warning about consuming substances? It's so funny. It's so funny. Like, I'm like, girl, TikTok, what? What are you talking about? I'm gonna move in just a bit closer. Ow. My leg hurt. Okay. One more sip. Come over here. Cool. The shop had been quiet in that way that felt intentional. Soft music, clean shelves, everything spaced just enough to breathe. It smelled like 100 different versions of new layered over each other. Rumi lingered a step behind them at first. Zoe slowed without making a thing of it, her hand brushing lightly against Rumi's wrist until their fingers slipped together, not pulling, just there. Mira had already been halfway down an aisle, scanning labels with a focus that looked almost like she was studying for something. She picked one up, turned it over, put it back. Another, then another. She was being picky on purpose, Zoe murmured. Low enough it stayed between them. Rumi's mouth twitched. She knew. Mira glanced back eventually, catching them both just standing there, and lifted a brow. You're not getting out of this by staring at me. Rumi exhaled through her nose, a quiet, almost laugh, and stepped forward. The first few scents were fine, but too soft, too sharp, or too familiar in a way that made her chest tighten without warning. She pulled back from one too quickly, shaking her head before either of them could ask. Mira didn't push. She just nodded once, like, okay, not that one. They moved slower after that, adjusting without saying it. Zoe started handing her strips instead of bottles, giving her space, her voice gentler than usual as she said, Try this one, it's lighter. Rumi did, holding it closer this time as she breathed in. Nothing spiked, nothing ached. She lowered it with a small shake of her head. Mira watched her more than the shelves now. Not in a hovering way, but just attentive, like she was trying to catch the exact moment something shifted. It took a while, long enough that the store cycled through a whole song. Rumi paused. It was subtle at first, just her hand stilling mid reach, fingers hovering over a bottle she hadn't meant to pick up. Something she didn't know. She just knew she didn't want to put it back. She lifted it slowly and sprayed once onto a strip, bringing it closer as she inhaled. Her shoulders dropped, just slightly, like something had just unfurled slowly through her chest. The smell was bright, not loud or overwhelming, just clear and clean in a way that didn't erase anything, but didn't cling to it either. Her grip tightened on the paper as she breathed in again and again. Mira saw it before Rumi even looked up, that tiny shift, that almost imperceptible softening around her eyes. That one? Mira asked, careful, not hopeful, just checking. Rumi nodded, small but certain. Zoe tilted her head, studying her and not the scent. You're sure? There was no pressure in it, just concern wrapped gently. Rumi hesitated for a second, not because she was unsure, but because she knew they knew. Her fingers curled slightly, then she nodded again, a little firmer this time. Mira exhaled slowly and looked at the bottle like it was something more than glass, her jaw tightening for a second before she smoothed it out. Okay, she said quietly. Zoe's thumb brushed over the back of Rumi's hand. Okay, she echoed, softer. Rumi signed, a little slower than usual, like she was choosing each word carefully. It doesn't hurt. Mira's throat moved before she spoke it out loud for her. It doesn't hurt. That landed heavier than it should have. Zoe nodded once, eyes warm but steady. Then that's enough. Rumi looked back down at the strip and brought it close one more time, breathing in. This time there was something else under it. Not memory or pain, just space, like there was finally room for something new. Outer Thoughts, number 52. Little sip. Routine can be comforting, safe, familiar. It gives your day shape, something soft to fall into when everything else feels uncertain. It keeps your hands busy, your mind occupied, your life moving in a direction you already understand. But routine can also close in around you. It can make the world smaller without you noticing, narrowing your choices until everything starts to feel predetermined, expected, controlled. And maybe that sounds safe, but a life without unpredictability isn't safety. It's a kind of quiet prison, the kind you build yourself, piece by piece, every time you choose not to step outside of what you already know. Change is different. Change asks something of you. It asks you to loosen your grip, to make space for things you didn't plan, didn't expect, maybe didn't even want. Change is unpredictable, and life without unpredictability isn't really living. What was the quote? A life. What was it? Oh my god, sorry. It's from Code Geass. A life without change is just oh god. It was from Code Geass. I'll look it up after this because now I really need to find it. Okay. Um Routine can only take you so far. It can only make your life so certain before it starts taking something from you in return. Change gives it back. It's what allows you to grow, to shift, to become something new, even if you don't fully understand what that looks like yet. Change is important. Important in ways that don't always feel good. Important in ways that you're allowed to move, to evolve, to become. Change is good. Change is okay. I've changed my whole life. I changed when I learned how to walk, when the world got bigger just because I could reach more of it. I changed when I lost my first tooth, when something small and permanent left me for the first time. I changed when my mom died. That kind of change doesn't ask for permission. It doesn't wait until you're ready. It just happens, and suddenly you're someone else, whether you want it to be or not. I changed when I was bullied, when I make myself smaller, quieter. I changed when I pressed a blade into my skin, when I tried to turn something invisible into something I could see, something I could control. I changed when I left Celine's house for good, when I realized that leaving could be a kind of survival too. I changed when I fell in love with both of them, when I let myself feel something I didn't have a name for yet. I changed when I cut my hair, when I looked in the mirror and didn't see the same person staring back. I changed when I walked out of those police station doors on a stretcher, when everything I thought I understood about the world shifted again without asking. I changed over and over. Some changes were small, some were sharp enough to leave something behind. Some of them felt like shedding skin, some of them felt like losing it. Even now, I think I'm still changing in ways I can't fully see yet, like something subtle, something that lingers. The way a scent shifts over time, fading, deepening, becoming something new without ever fully disappearing. Maybe that's what change really is. Not becoming someone completely different, just becoming more, more than you were before, more than you thought you could be. Change, good or bad, is still necessary. It's a process, messy, uneven, sometimes painful, but alive. And I think I like that. I like that I'm not stuck, that I'm not finished, that there's still something ahead of me I haven't met yet. Even if it's scary, even if it hurts, change is okay. Mhm. Mhm. I'm gonna check the YouTube comments real quick. I haven't checked it now. And then I'll look up that quote because if I don't find it, I'll lose my mind. Stephen and Rumi both learning about the doom Yuri of their mothers. Mm-hmm. Hell hath hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna look up this quote because I really want to find it. A life without change is merely a life with no changes can't be called life. You can only call it experience. Yeah, a life without change can't be called life. You can only call it experience. Yeah. Thank you, Lelouch Lamperouge slash Lelouch V Britannia. If you haven't seen Code Geass, listen, if you're into yaoi, you would enjoy Code Geass. Truly, nothing like it. Nothing like it. Also, it's the whole show is a criticism of colonialism. It's great. Because the main character is a freaking white savior. And they're like, this is bad actually. Anyway, sorry. Code Geass is good. It's one of my favorite enemies. Okay. The grass shifted softly beneath the breeze, each blade brushing against the next in a quiet, steady rhythm. The sun sat warm against Rumi's skin, not harsh, just enough to settle pleasantly into her shoulders and the back of her neck as she lay stretched out on the blanket. A quiet sigh slipped from her as she rested her chin on her folded arms, eyes moving lazily across the page. The world felt slow, easy, like nothing was asking anything of her for once. Fingers brushed lightly against her waist, absent minded at first, tracing soft, wandering shapes through the fabric of her shirt. An arm rested around her, warm in a way that felt different from the sun, closer, more grounding. Mira. Rumi didn't look up right away. She felt the press of lips against her shoulder, light and lingering, teasing in the way they curved just slightly at the edges. She could almost feel the smile there. Rumi rolled her eyes, finally turning her head. Mira was already looking at her. Mira was lying beside her with her chin propped in her palm, hair pulled back into a loose ponytail that was already losing the battle against the wind. Loose strands drifted across her face every few seconds, only for her to ignore them completely. The black tank top she wore should have looked simple. Instead, it somehow looked unfair. The tiny bows where the straps met the fabric felt distinctly Mira, soft and feminine in a way that contrasted sharply with the bright blue and yellow basketball shorts she'd stolen from Zoe weeks ago and apparently never used. She insisted they were too comfortable not to wear, despite the way they drew attention every time she stepped outside in them. Her legs stretched out behind her, feet kicked up lazily, flip flops abandoned somewhere in the grass like she hadn't even noticed when they slipped off. And she was smiling, just smiling at her like she had nowhere else to be and no better way to spend her time than staring at Rumi. Rumi narrowed her eyes. Mira's smile widened. Slowly, Rumi lifted one hand and pointed toward the neglected book lying open beside her. The book Mira was supposedly reading. Mira followed the gesture, then rolled her eyes dramatically and flopped onto her back. Rumi huffed a quiet breath through her nose, the corner of her mouth twitching despite herself before she turned back to her own page. Peace restored. It lasted all of 3 seconds. Something red suddenly flew into view. Rumi barely registered it before whack! The frisbee smacked directly into Mira's face, bouncing off her nose and landed harmlessly in the grass beside her. She didn't move. Silence. Then, duck! Rumi looked up across the field. Zoe was sprinting toward them at full speed. A little late. A lot late, actually. Her bright green shirt clung slightly to her from running around all afternoon, cheeks flushed pink and her bangs sticking to her forehead. Somewhere along the way, she'd apparently lost her own flip flops because she was running barefoot through the grass. Are you okay, Mir? Zoe asked as she finally reached them, sounding far too innocent. I didn't mean for it to hit you. Mira dragged a hand slowly down her face, eyes closing for a brief moment like she was gathering what little patience she had left. Zoe? Yes? Zoe replied immediately. Mira stared. Zoe clasped her hands together. Yes, my sweet and angelic and. Yes, my sweet and angelic and definitely would never intentionally assault our girlfriend, Cutie Pie? Rumi watched Mira's eye twitch. Why? Mira asked, voice still eerily calm. Would you tell me to duck after I already got hit? Zoe opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. In my defense, you have no defense. Zoe held up both hands immediately. I was really far, so I didn't know it was going to hit you until it did. I felt like warning. I felt like warning you was still the right thing to do. Rumi buried her face behind her book, watching as Mira let out a long, suffering sigh and grabbed the frisbee and threw it at Zoe. Or tried to. It tilted awkwardly the moment it left her hand, catching the breeze wrong before wobbling midair and smacking right back into her face. The sound Rumi made wasn't quite a laugh. It was closer to a choke. She immediately buried her face into her arms. Zoe puffed out her cheeks, visibly trying not to laugh as she shuffled a step closer. You okay? Mira didn't answer immediately, her face almost the exact same shade of red as the frisbee sitting in her lap. Fine, she said through clenched teeth. She settled back into the blanket like nothing had happened, lifting her book and holding it in front of her face with a pointed indifference. Rumi and Zoe shared a look. Yep, that was bad. Upset Mira was dangerous territory. Zoe pouted immediately, dropping down beside her and bumping her shoulder lightly against Mira's stiff one. No response, not even a glance. Okay, tough crowd. She inhaled, straightening slightly. Time to pull out the trump card. Mimi? Don't. The response came instantly, flat, firm. Zoe winced. Oh, she was really upset. Zoe slumped a little, huffing under her breath before glancing back at Rumi, who was watching the entire thing unfold with quiet interest and very intentionally staying out of it. Smart. Zoe sighed dramatically, then lifted her arms, squinting down at her bare wrist like she was checking an invisible watch, tapping it once for emphasis. Rumi raised a brow, intrigued. Zoe caught her eye and smirked, holding up 3 fingers and dropped them slowly. By the time the last finger lowered, Mir let out the faintest breath through her nose. There it was. Zoe turned back to her, expression softening instantly, her voice dropping just enough to lose the teasing edge. Mira? No response. Mira? A pause. Mira? Still nothing. Zoe leaned a little closer, her shoulder brushing Mira's again, this time lingering. My love? Mira's fingers twitched slightly against the page. My lover? A beat. Mishemo? Is that Mishemo? Mira Mishemo? Mishimo? Mira Mishimo? Mishimo? I feel like I am going crazy. What does that mean? Mishib? Miss. What does that mean? I'm so confused. Anyway, Rumi snorted. Mira, Mira on the wall. Nothing. Hello? Is this thing on? Am I muted? Hello? Testing, testing. 1, 2, 3. Can the beautiful woman hear me? Mira's eyes finally flicked up, sharp, landing on Zoe with a glare that could have cut glass. Oh, good, she said brightly. You can hear me. Mira narrowed her eyes. Zoe didn't give her time to retreat again. She shifted closer, gentle this time, pressing a soft kiss to Mira's cheek before pulling back just enough to look at her. I'm sorry, she murmured. Mira's expression tightened, clearly trying very hard to hold on to the irritation. You're all gross and sweaty, she muttered, like that was the real issue. Zoe giggled under her breath, completely undeterred, leaning in again, this time pressing another kiss, and then another, lingering just a little longer each time. You didn't tell me to stop, though. Mira hummed when Zoe's lips brushed hers, the sound quieter now, less resistant. No, she admitted, barely audible. I didn't. Zoe smiled into it, something warm and a little triumphant slipping through as she deepened the kiss just slightly, her hand coming up to cradle Mira's jaw. Then, without much warning, she reached over, plucked the book right out of Mira's hands, and tossed it aside onto the blanket. Mira blinked, startled. Hey! But Zoe didn't give her time to recover, already shifting forward and nudging her back into the blanket, the movement playful, but just forceful enough to steal her balance. Mira let out a small, offended noise as she landed. That's a soft covered book, she complained immediately, glancing to the side where it had been tossed. You can't just throw it around like that, they're delicate. Zoe hummed, not sounding sorry at all as she hovered over her, lips brushing against hers between words. I'll make sure to be more careful next time. If it bent in any way, I'm going. Her protest cut off, dissolving into something quieter as Zoe kissed her again, stealing the rest of the sentence right out of her mouth. Rumi blinked. Well, that escalated. She closed her book slowly, setting it aside with far more care than Zoe had shown Mira's, and rested her chin in her hands. Her gaze drifted back to them and smiled, quiet and fond. And then she just watched. Yeah, she wasn't going to pretend she didn't enjoy watching anymore. Roomy voyeur, roomy voyeur. Listen, I've liked the Roomy Voyeur headcanon since the beginning. Just saying. Just saying. It's real to me. It's real to me. And it all comes full circle. No, I do love that. I'm just going to see how long. How long do we have left? Not much. Cute. Okay. Yeah, Rumi. Mm-hmm. Honestly, they deserve this. The past few months had been a blur of emotions, therapy appointments, difficult conversations, and the exhausting process of putting themselves back together after everything that had happened. A lazy afternoon in the park with their friends felt earned. Rumi lay comfortably on the blanket, her book open beneath her hands as the breeze occasionally lifted the corners on the pages. Around them, conversations drifted through the air, mixing with distant laughter and the rhythmic thump of a basketball from another section of the park. She wasn't talking much today, partly because she didn't need to, partly because her speech therapist had strongly encouraged her not to rush things. The words were coming easier now. Her voice no longer felt trapped somewhere deep inside her chest, and every week speaking became a little less frightening. But Dr. Huang had warned her against trying to force everything back to normal all at once. Instead, she had encouraged Rumi to take her time, listen, observe, and allow herself to exist without feeling responsible for filling every silence. So Rumi did. She let her gaze drift, taking in the small things she might have missed before. The way the sunlight shifted across the grass, the sound of laughter carrying from somewhere off to the side, the warmth of the blanket beneath her, the steady, familiar presence of the people around her. It felt different, like she was seeing everything from a slightly new angle. So, you two seriously planning to sit here and read all day like boring grandmas? Zoe whined, flapping dramatically onto her back before propping herself up again. I want to actually do something like play. Mira didn't even look up from her page. This is perfect book weather. Zoe groaned loudly enough to attract a few stares from nearby strangers. You say that every time there's weather. Because every weather is book weather. That's not true. It is. It's objectively not. Mira calmly turned a page. Zoe looked toward Rumi for support, and Rumi immediately lowered her gaze back to her book. Wow, traitor. Rumi smiled faintly to herself, eyes still on her page. Incoming! Incoming! A shadow suddenly fell over. Rumi looked up, but she only had enough time to register a familiar scream and an alarming amount of limbs before Genu crashed directly into her. The impact drove the air from her lungs. She folded beneath him with a strangled noise as both of them disappeared into the blanket. Genu, of course. Sorry. He let out a small groan from where he'd landed, half sprawled across her. Rumi lay there for a second, stunned, trying to remember how breathing worked. A few feet away, Abby had already stopped running and was staring at the scene with growing guilt. Whoops, sorry, I didn't mean to throw him that far. Sorry, that's Abby. Whoops, sorry, I didn't mean to throw him that far, especially not over here. Rumi, are you okay? Zoe asked quickly, pushing herself up. No, Mira said flatly, already sitting up, eyes narrowed. She was just flattened by a 200-ton pile of trash. Hey, Genu started, but cut himself off as Mira's glare snapped toward him. He quickly rolled off Rumi, patting her back with a grin that was just a little too unbothered. She's tough. She'll be fine, right, Rumi? Rumi's fingers curled slowly into the blanket as she pushed herself upright, her hair slightly mussed, her lungs finally catching up. She inhaled once, twice, then, Chinu. It was almost a growl. Chinu immediately pointed toward the horizon. Would you look at the time? Chinu. Yep, that's my name. Rumi stood. Chinu backed away. Rumi. She took a step forward. Rumi, let's be reasonable. She took another. Okay, yep, sorry again. Bye now. Genu turned and sprinted, and he was gone. Rumi didn't hesitate. She pushed herself up and took off after him without a word, her earlier calm replaced with something far more focused. Abby watched them go, blinking once before letting out a small hum. Well, they're off. You should probably start running too, Mira said, already standing, brushing imaginary grass off herself. Abby turned back to her, baffled. What? Why? I didn't even do anything to you. Mira cracked her knuckles slowly, her gaze never leaving Abby's face. You threw your boyfriend onto my very pretty, very one of a kind girlfriend, she said calmly. So, yes, it concerns me. Abby took a careful step back. I didn't mean to. Your fault. Mira cut in smoothly. Another step back. And now you have to die. Period. Period. We love a callback. We love a reference, not a callback. We love a reference. Abby's eyes widened. Really? I didn't mean to. He paused, processing. Then his face flushed bright red. He's not my boyfriend. Mira rolled her eyes, already stepping closer, unimpressed. Keep telling yourself that. Abby didn't argue. Instead, he dropped suddenly, quick and deliberate, grabbing the edge of the blanket and yanked it hard out from under Mira's feet. Mira barely had time to react before her balance gave out, her foot slipping as the fabric slid free beneath her. She went down. You'll never catch me, bye, Abby called, already turning on his heel and bolting across the field. Mira pushed herself up immediately, brushing grass from her arms as she shot to her feet, eyes locked onto Abby's retreating figure. Let's see how long that stamina lasts for you, big guy, she shouted after him, already breaking into a full sprint. Abby's horrified laughter echoed across the field. Zoe stood there for a moment, blinking as she watched both of them disappear into the distance. Abby running for his life, Mira right on his heels like a very determined threat. Well, she said slowly, hands settling on her hips. That was one way to get them up. A familiar presence stepped up beside her. Mystery. He held up two skateboards and a pair of helmets like a prize, a small smile on his face. Got the goods. Zoe's expression lit up instantly. Yes, let's go. Mystery glanced out over at the disheveled blanket. Where'd everybody go? Zoe followed his gaze briefly, watching the distant figures weaving across the grass. Just chasing each other around for blood, you know how they are. Mystery let out a quiet hum, then he looked back at her, lifting one of the boards slightly. Wanna go find somewhere to skate? Zoe didn't even hesitate. She lifted her fist, bumping it lightly against his with a grin that was already turning a little competitive. You already know it. It's like the whole gang's together. Meh. Take this. Hi, broccoli. Hello. Water. Everyone hydrate. Now you water. Well, now I water. Me as a watcher confirmed. Well, well, do we need confirmation? did we need confirmation? Hi, Braga. You woke up to say hi, girl. Go back to sleep, or let me read you to sleep. We're getting to the like more fluffy bits right now, so. Rumi laid back against the blanket, eyes fixed on the open stretch of sky above her as she plucked a few grapes from the container beside her, tossing them into her mouth one at a time. It's still early and I have another shift today. You should still nap. I think you should nap. Tossing them into her mouth one at a time. She chewed slowly, half listening to the steady stream of conversation happening around her, voices overlapping, rising and falling like background music she didn't have to participate in to feel part of. Whoever made these peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, Abby said, his voice muffled around a mouthful, I'm going to make out with. I'm so serious. No thanks, Zoe replied immediately, not even looking up from her own food. I have my girlfriends for that. Fair. Abby shrugged easily. Mira snorted softly, shifting closer as she wrapped an arm around Zoe's waist and pulled her in without much thought. Maybe you should have Ginu make you one, she added, glancing over. I'm sure he's in need of some mouth-to-mouth action. Can we not? Can we not? Ginu pinched the bridge of his nose, already turning red. Abby coughed into his shoulder, his face going just as flushed. Rumi, Ginu groaned. I swear to God, get your girlfriend. Rumi rolled on her Rumi rolled over onto her shoulder, propping her chin up in her hands as she looked at them, watching the way the moment unfolded rather than jumping into it. Her gaze softened. She let herself drift, not away from them, just inward. That sky was really clear today. She blinked softly. She wondered if it was going to stay like that or if it would cloud over later. Another grape between her teeth. She didn't even realize she was hungry. A pause. Wait. Her brows knit slightly. She's thinking. The realization didn't hit all at once. It unfolded slowly, like she was turning something over in her hands, not quite trusting it yet. No, she's been thinking. Obviously, she's been thinking. That's her fingers curled slightly against the blanket. But she can hear it. Clear, not fragmented, not distant, not like reaching for something that wasn't there, just there. Her voice in her head. Was it always like this and she didn't notice? No, that's not right. It wasn't like this. It was quieter or empty. Not empty, just not this. She can hear the way she sounds. That's weird. Is that weird? It feels weird. It didn't feel bad, though. It feels. She paused. Familiar. Something in her chest tightened, then loosened just as quickly. She missed this. She hadn't realized how much until now. Her lips parted slightly, like she might say something, but no words came out. Huh. It slipped through her mind, soft and almost disbelieving. Huh. Hello, universe of my mind. Can you hear me? I can hear you. I'm you, just inside your head. Hello, me that's inside my head. How are you doing? I'm doing just fine. Thanks for asking, other me. You know you're just talking to yourself, right? Whoa, dude, way to come in with such negative energy. Who are you? I'm gloomy, Rumi. I control all her sad thoughts and make her feel all mopey and depressed. Just kidding. I just wanted to pretend we were in Inside Out, with all the little emotion people running around. Yes, I think we know what Inside Out is. If you've seen it, that technically means we've all seen it, same brain and all. Or one of us is the clone and I'm actually the real Rumi. No, you're not. Am too. No, yes, no, yes. Just kidding again. I just want to pretend. Like that one episode of Gravity Falls where Dipper makes clones of himself and then they try to get rid of them. And then okay, we get it. You like referencing things. You can stop. This is so me. Oh my God. Wow. Grouch. I'll show you a grouch. Come here, you little Rumi. Is that Zoe? Oh, Rumi? The sound of her name pulled her back. She blinked, her focus sharpening as she looked up to find everyone staring at her. Zoe tilted her head slightly, a small crease of concern between her brows. You okay? Rumi blinked once more, then nodded, pushing herself up just a little. Yeah, she said, her voice a little quieter than usual, like she was still adjusting. No, I'm fine, just got lost in my thoughts. She trailed off slightly at the end, the words settling differently now. Thoughts. Actual thoughts. Zoe studied her for a second longer, then smiled a little, accepting it. Oh, Mira was asking if we should hang out at the pool again next, she said, nudging Mira lightly with her shoulder. And hopefully she doesn't forget sunscreen this time. Mira rolled her eyes immediately. It was literally one time. Yeah, but you act like such a wounded puppy when you get sunburn. Zoe cut in, already reaching for her phone. I literally have a video of you whining like a little baby. Chinu perked up instantly. Mira whining? Oh yeah, I need to see this. Well, technically I am wounded since sunburns are. No, don't show him. And why are you always recording me? She added, voice rising as she tried to grab for the phone. Because you're recordable, Abby snickered, scooting closer to get a better look. Even Mystery glanced up from his phone just long enough to say, "Send that to me," before immediately looking back down again. "You got it," Zoe laughed, dodging Mira's reach with ease. "No, you too, Mystery," Mira groaned, dragging a hand down her face. Rumi watched them, her smile soft and quiet, but real. Something steady settling inside her as the noise picked back up around her. Zoe was half standing now, phone in hand, laughing as she tried to angle it around Mira, who was actively attempting to block the screen with both hands. "Don't you dare, Zoe, I'm serious. It's too late, it's already playing. Give me the phone." Ginu had fully leaned in now, interest completely peaked. Wait, rewinded? I missed the beginning. Rumi rolled onto her back again, the blanket shifting beneath her as she settled in, her eyes drifting up to the sky where the blue stretched endlessly above her, untouched and open. She took a slow breath in. It filled her lungs fully this time. No hitch, no pressure sitting heavy in her chest. Just air. She let it out just as slowly. And for the first time since the station, it didn't feel like something was stuck in her throat. It didn't feel like she had to fight for space in her own body. Inner thought number one. Yeah, I think I'm going to be okay. Okay, I love that. Okay. Call me a sap. I love that. I love that. That's really, really cute. That's really sweet. Just asking to prepare myself. No, it's like, it's genuinely fluff right now. Hi, toys. Wait, did you mean to say Tov or Toss? Because Tov hasn't been on my streams that much. But yeah, Toss is here. Yee. Also, I didn't say the last time, but like Toss, I don't like when I do streams, I'm like I don't want to tag you because like you're never forced to be here, but I really appreciate you being here always. Oh, 12 isn't here. No, yeah. Different people. Different people. I will always. I can tag you if you want. I was just like, eh. I'm like, she doesn't have to be here. Oh, if Austin joins, say hi to him, please. Austin was here in the beginning of the stream. I don't know why it autocorrected to Tov. There is a Tov in the fandom, just different. Bonus. Anybody smell that? Gino's voice cut lightly through the noise, his brows knitting as he paused mid-sip, nose scrunching slightly as he took in another breath. He glanced around, confused, like he was trying to place it. It's, I don't know, she said slowly, sniffing again as he leaned forward a little. Kind of citrusy, like oranges or lemons or something. Be so serious. Be so serious right now. Jesus Christos. Okay. There was a brief pause as everyone instinctively tuned in, Mystery taking exaggerated sniffs just to humor him. Abby wrinkled his nose, glancing around. You sure that's not just, like, the grass? No, Genu shook his head, more certain now. It's closer than that. His gaze shifted, scanning the group again before landing on Rumi, something clicking into place as his eyes narrowed just slightly in realization. Wait. He leaned forward a bit, pointing lightly in her direction. Is that you? Are you the one smelling like oranges and lemons, Rumi? Rumi turned her head to meet his gaze, and her smile bloomed instantly, bright, radiant, and unmistakably proud. It carried a warmth that spread across her whole face, her eyes lighting up as they crinkled at the corners. Yeah. Notes, we are so back, chat. Also, happy Juneteenth. Happy past Juneteenth. happy KPDH anniversary. Meh. God, toss. God. So yeah, that's getting clipped. Fucking oranges. Fucking oranges. Also, I think I want to like look at other fan art that I think I saw on your Twitter the other day. Full circle. I mean, it does make sense. Like in a narrative, from a narrative standpoint, oranges are like her little coping mechanism. It makes sense. It's not that it doesn't make sense. It's just like, damn. This one is really cute. Look at Woomy. Look at Woomy. Look at Woomy laying on the bed upside down. Oh, do I follow Alia? Because Alia's art is really, really nice. Following now. Okay. June 20th is my worst day of the year. Why? Same birthday? Oh, she's so sweet. Funny story, I almost got an orange scented lotion the other day. I'll get it next time. Yeah, the fan art is really cute. Yeah, my birthday is June 20th. Oh my god. Why is it a bad day? You don't have to say anything. It's just, damn. Okay. Hello, YouTube chat. Mirror. They are all dorks. Thanks for being so active in the chat, Tegan. Already checked the baby photo? The baby photo? Oh, baby photo! I noticed the link. Thank you. Guys! Oh my god. Oh my god. Look at her. Look at her. Oh my god. Whoa, 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 whoa. Whoa, 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 whoa. Whoa, 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 whoa. Whoa, 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 whoa. Wait. Whoa, whoa. Whoa. Look at. No, I don't want to. No. No. It's us. Log into my account. Anyways, we saw the photos. Pinterest, stop annoying me. Hello. Selam Ria. Bless you. Thank you. Just every year something bad happens. I'm sorry. My birthday last year sucked a lot. The one thing good about my birthday last year is that a new chapter of Two's Company came out, and then the rest of my birthday sucked, but then it was fine. Because then I like came back to New York and celebrated my birthday again. So it was all fine. She is so small. Oh, no, chat, no. Damn, well, you had a new chapter on every day too. I accidentally invited someone. If someone joins, I'm getting out of here because I am not co-hosting with someone. Oop. Because TikTok is so annoying. It'll just be like, invite this person. And I'm like, I don't want to invite anyone. This is my stream. Unless I want to. And usually it's just Reef that I invite. Anyway, it for tonight's stream. That took less than I thought. That took like 5.5 hours total to go through 35,000. But I was reading faster. Yeni bir TCT with paylaştım son bölümle ilgili tepki izle. Okay, we got TC animatic, y'all. Y'all, we got TC animatic. I'm pulling it up. I'm pulling it up. Okay. Yeni bölüm mü bu? Yani şu an 좀 뒤집어졌나? Okay, let me share this real quick. Let me share this real quick. So attic for Two's company. Let's pull it up. Oh my god. Wait. Oh, it's a work in progress. Now you're lost in the wilderness. Jesus. Jesus Christ. Now that you're gone. Oh my god. Now that you're gone. Oh my fucking god. Oh my fucking god. Oh my god. Holy shit. Stop. So this is chapter 42, not chapter 43. Oh my god. Oh my god. I should have been like, content warning for like almost suicide attempts. Oof. Jesus. That looks really good though. My live visibility got restricted because of sexually suggestive content. It's okay. We are we are ending it right now anyway. Artie speaks Turkish. Suddenly I thought, girl, I'm Turkish. What is your thing with languages? What is your thing with languages? Like, oh my god. I also sing opera in French and Italian. if that's anything to you. Oh my